Hi lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a VR to Juli at Peekaboo Rose. I want to share my standout decks of 2022, so the decks that I've loved working with in 2022. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got some pairs as well. I just thought it would just be a lovely morning for me in the madness in the last week of school before the Christmas holidays to share some decks. And of course I'm going to start with a really obvious one. I'm going to start with the Arthurian Tarot. I did about a quarter of the Hallowed Quest with the Arthurian Tarot and I absolutely loved it. Paired as well in other readings with the Miss of Avalon Oracle. This I've shared many times on my channel this year, but I just literally couldn't do this video without sharing these two. It's just been a trip, it really has. It's been fantastic sharing these two. I know that this deck now, the Arthurian Tarot, is reshipping. I think it changed publisher. It'd be really interesting to see what's happening with the borders, or to see what's happening with the backs, which look like this. The backs on the Oracle look like that. This deck has made me realise how magical pathworking cards is, and meditating with tarot, putting meditation and pathworking into tarot practice. It's really changed the way I look at tarot, really. It's not separate to my witchcraft practice or my spiritual walk. It's not just something I do as well. It is, by throwing pathworking in it, it just makes this, it makes it so magical and a way to astral travel, a way to enter different worlds, a way to meet and talk to other beings, whatever that may be for you. I find that this has been a portal this year for me, so they're definitely really important standout decks for me. A portal to another world, if you will, and a portal to releasing some really hidden pain deep in the shadows. One of the reasons why I haven't finished the Hallowed Quest is the need to keep taking a break from it, because it's been just so powerful and has ripped my heart out and left me sobbing. The last meditation I did with the Hallowed Quest, I cried till my head pounded. It's been one of those this year. It's been fantastic. It's been brilliant, and yeah, definitely a standout deck for 2022 for me. So that's the Miss of Avalon Oracle. That's by Rose and Sarah, which is lovely. And the Arthurian Tarot, both mass market. So a lot of the decks I'm going to share are mass market, because most of my decks are. Look at that lovely box design there. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, next, what should I go for next? I've got a massive pile of decks out here. Okay, I'll go for another pairing that I share a lot on my channel, but I think these are always going to be standouts for me. That's the Nicoletta Ciccoli with the Zombie Tarot. Now, these stay out together all the time. They're never put away. They're on my main altar. I'm going to share a deck next as well that's working with them as well. I'll do that in a moment. There is something about these two together which I first saw on Saturnarium's channel. She first shared these two, and when I saw the pairing, I just knew that they were going to work for me for some of the main reasons I come to the tarot, which is healing and healing past wounds. These two decks for me, they key in, you can see it here straight away, they key into family wounds and inner child wounds and wounds to do with family scapegoating. I think it's very much childhood imagery in the Nicoletta Ciccoli, as opposed to an undercurrent of something uneasy going on behind the scenes. And you've got all the folds here of the the paper bird, with all the folds here of being wounded and wrapped in bandages. You know, you've got the scales here of justice, and something that looks like a scale made out of food. Oh my gosh, I literally can't even look at this without immediately getting messages. Look, you've got her holding the tails of mice and him holding the reins of a horse. Oh my gosh, I just love it. So it just ties into something really fundamental that needs healing for me. And this year, what's the healing journey been like this year? Well, do you know what? This year there was a massive setback, really. I thought that the cruelty might have ended, but no, not at all. And it did set me back mid-year, but it was a setback. It was a very dark place I needed to finish going through, and I do feel like there's been a release going through that. But this deck, when I didn't know how I was going to get through the next step, this deck, I call it this deck because this pairing feels like a single deck. This deck was the place that I came. I mean, look at this, trapped in a cage, both of these. Oh my gosh, and like the building blocks of something that might come tumbling down here as well. A child needing to set boundaries. It's all in here. Yeah, oh my gosh, I just love it. I think this pairing will move eventually from healing practice to getting into a lighter, more healed space. It will be a reassurance and a reminder and an old friend. I was literally, as I'm saying it, so as I move out of the death of this phase into a new phase, it'll be literally what you can see, a reassurance of an old friend. Literally, it's there as I'm saying it. So the Nicoletta Ciccoli and the Zombie Tarot, just literally always a standout deck for me, or a standout pairing that in my mind they work together. This truly is a bonded pair now. It's become a single deck in my mind, and I love it. Okay, now I did say that there was another deck that's out on my altar, and it isn't really a tarot or an oracle deck. It's actually a box of cards, if I can get it. It's a box of cards that came with a second-hand game from a charity shop. They were selling off a load of family board games for like 50 pence each, and I thought I would stock our games cupboard. When we looked at this game, it was a bit boring as a game. If I grab a card, it's called the stare game. So you look at the picture, and there's an egg timer in there, and then once you've looked at the picture and the egg timer's up, you roll a dice and your opponent has to answer a question about the picture. Well, I've got teenagers in the house, so it wasn't really something that they wanted to play, but I've got this whole box of cards, and I have been using this box of cards to work with 3 dolls on a healing journey. The cards have been used as I suppose I could say like a spy on the wall, to kind of work out what's going on behind the scenes of something that is very hurtful to me. And I've been channeling that spell through 3 dolls as well. And oh boy, oh my God, I can't even begin to describe it. It's very personal, so it would make the most amazing video, but it's too personal to share. What I can share is that channeling energy into a doll and then using a deck, whether it be tarot, oracle, or like this, just a deck of pictures, can have some really powerful results that can be cross-checked with reality. And that's what I've had happen with these cards this year. The setbacks that have come, that have really done some major wounding. There is a lot of cruelty that people have tried to throw my way and have thrown my way. This practice with this deck of cards has, it's been the life jacket really that's been thrown over the side of the ship to me in the stormy waters. There is magic in this, and again I am continually blown away by exactly the amount of magic that can be found in something as simple as a pack of picture cards. So game cards, if you ever see a family board game in a charity shop going for pennies, open it up and have a look, see if there are any cards in there. I know that other people use game cards as well, but this has been spectacular this year. So those are my stair cards, which have been used kind of within a channeled spell, so that's been fun. Okay, while we are talking about being completely floored by events around you, which we all do, we all have our tarot moments, these two decks also have stood out for me. So we have the Gentle Tarot and then Melody Beatty, the Language of Letting Go. I think when I've been really upset and have been a little bit scared that I can't actually face the tarot or oracle saying anything too harsh, and I've not been able to risk it, these decks have come into play then. They have just been just gentle and just helping me take the next step forward. So you can see the Melody Beatty deck, which I've shared before. It has Today I Will, and then just advice for taking the next step. But they've worked really nicely together as well. So this is another really gentle pairing that has given me the next step forward. So you can see that they kind of work, don't they? And incredibly gentle for me this year. It does have, this deck I know does have the ability to also pack a punch as well, but I found that putting these two together, it's done exactly what I've needed it to do. It's been incredibly gentle. I mean, you can see the colours are just pulling in together just so nicely every time. So I've loved these two. They've been really important to me this year. Honestly, they've been so important to me and I love them. So that's Melody Beatty, the Language of Letting Go, and the Gentle Tarot, both standout decks for me. I'm going to share next a deck that I set an intention at the beginning of the year to work with, that I didn't actually think it was going to be quite the success it was, and then a new deck that came in to work with it, which blew my socks off. My intention at the start of 2022 was to try and work with the classic Rider-Waite more. I'd used it as a study deck, but I hadn't really worked with it, and it felt remiss I hadn't put time into actually working and reading with it. So I planned a whole month to work with it. This is the yellow box Rider-Waite, and to be honest, it blew my socks off. This, I think, out of my Rider-Waites, I think I've only got 3 Rider-Waite Smith decks. This yellow box is by far my favourite, and I completely loved it. So it transformed my relationship with the Rider-Waite Smith deck, actually working with this yellow box. But then I got Chris Ann's Curious Creatures, and Juli at Peekaboo Rose, if she's watching this, she'll giggle, because I was actually on 3 Girls 1 Deck, as a guest, which was wonderful. That was also a standout tarot moment for me, to try and convince them all that this deck was a must buy deck. I got Sarah, I didn't get Heather and Juli, I just couldn't convince them. But this has been a standout deck for me as well, and I ended up working with these two together and it was fantastic. I adore this deck. It's really deep, it's really cleverly done. The guidebook for it is fantastic. It holds so much of the Rider-Waite symbolism within it, which I discussed on 3 Girls 1 Deck, which I'll link below if you're interested in this deck, because in my trying to convince them to love it, I did talk about a lot of the symbolism that's there and how good the cards are. And these two together, they don't look like they should go, but oh, I had so much fun. I think I worked with these two solidly for over a month, and then both individually on and off throughout the year. Definitely standout decks to me. This is my all-time favourite 3 of Cups. Look at it, it's just wonderful. Yeah, so the Curious Creatures, I love Chris Ann's decks anyway, and this yellow box Rider-Waite, it really brought my tarot study on as well. The animals used for this also is a really good hook to hook the meaning of the tarot onto. If you are learning tarot, it's a fantastic beginner's deck. And the two together, I don't think you could go wrong with the two together as a study partnership. Just fantastic. I loved it. So my yellow box Rider-Waite Smith deck, absolutely a standout deck for 2022. But almost even more so the Chris Ann Curious Creatures. Don't dismiss it, please, if you're saying you don't like animal heads on human bodies, because it's so beautifully done. And now I can't find the box. There it is. So look, that's actually another pairing, isn't it? I just can't help myself. I am always putting decks into pairs. While we are talking about Chris Ann decks, let's talk about the Muse Tarot. This has been a standout deck again for the 2nd year running for me in 2022. The colours in this deck, the turquoise and the pink, I think 2022 taught me that I just adore colour in deck, and a colourful deck with this sort of colour palette will completely sway me to just fall in love hook, line and sinker with a deck. So I worked a lot with the Muse, pairing it with lots of different other decks. It does pair beautifully with the Voyager, so if you've got the Voyager and you've got this deck, I urge you to give them a try. 2 Carnage decks together, but they are just lovely paired together. Another deck that I used for the first time this year is Dame Darcy's Queen Alice Tarot, and just like the Muse Tarot, the colour, I mean, look at this box, isn't that box amazing? But the colours in this deck as well are just completely have me completely sold. So just 2 standout, colourful, fantastic decks that I've loved throughout 2022. I haven't necessarily used them together, so I'm just putting these side by side to show you, but they have that same essence of colour. Perhaps it's the turquoise, that they both have turquoise on them, and I do love that. And for me, I do get hits of messages from things like colour and line and the surface features of art. I think it's because I've always done it with my own artwork. And look at this, I love this cactus here and this kind of cactusy looking creature coming in there. Just just perfect. And look, you've got rose petals here and rose petals here, so there are synchronicities here as I'm looking, which is amazing really. So both standout decks for me for 2022, the Muse and the Dame Darcy Queen Alice Tarot, I've just loved them both. Now I'm looking at another deck on my table in front of me that's actually quite new to me. It didn't come to me till November. It was sent by the lovely Sandra over at Spirit of Avalon. She used to be the Whispering Well Tarot. She very kindly sent me a deck, and oh my gosh, I've loved it. If you've been watching my Tiny Soul Whispers December readings, you will know what deck I am about to share. I am about to share this one, the Rainbow Moon Tarot by Samantha West. So it's new, and it's the newest deck that I'm working with. But oh boy, is this a standout deck for me this year. It is wonderful to work with. It's colourful again. Look at the colours again. These colours look like they shouldn't go, but they really do. These pinks and turquoises and yellows and greens, lime greens and blues. Oh my gosh, it's just wonderful. I love the people in the deck. I love the way the deck reads. It's been really special actually working with it this December, and I recently paired it with my favourite oracle, which is always going to be in my standout decks, the Iris Oracle. It never goes far away, to be honest, but these two together, oh look at this, aren't they gorgeous together? So these have been an absolute favourite pairing discovered right at the end of the year for me. I honestly don't think that the Rainbow Moon Tarot is going to be going anywhere anytime soon, because I've loved it. I've used it every single day in December, and it's been just so much fun to use. But I think you can see that these two are fantastic, aren't they? I mean, look at the colours in them. It's just amazing. What can I say on the twin with the star card for healing? Yep, you can see what I mean by how fantastic they are. So these two, another pairing. You've got another pairing here that I absolutely love. The Iris Oracle with the Rainbow Moon Tarot by Samantha West. Look at that Knight of Wands. Isn't that fantastic? So I've loved those two. And look at the box for this Rainbow Moon Tarot. Look at the colours on it. How glorious is that box? It's just lovely. Lime green and pink. Honestly, it really shouldn't work, but it really does, and I just love it for it. So, a standout deck for sure. Another standout deck for me is this one, US Games, the Hobbit Tarot. I think this is possibly going out of print, or if not going out of print, already out of print. So I apologise for sharing it if it has already gone. But this has kind of tied in with the fact that me and my daughter Poppy have been watching the Lord of the Rings films and the Hobbit films on repeat throughout the year so many times I can't even tell you. She's obsessed with the stories, I'm obsessed with the stories. We adore the films, we adore the characters in the films. When we want to spend an evening together, snuggled up together chatting, she'll say, shall we put the Hobbit movies on? And we'll just sit and rewatch them. I bought this deck for her. This was actually her first tarot deck, which I've bought a few years ago, which is why I've ended up with the deck as well, because I did a reading for her with her gifted deck, realised the deck reads like an absolute dream if you know the stories, and then I had to order a deck myself. by which point a year ago I realised that the prices were going up fast, and I realised that this deck was probably on its way out, and I think prices have continued to rise. I think I got Poppy's deck for about £30. I think I paid nearly £50 for this deck, so I was just desperate to get a copy myself so that we could both have a copy. And it's been used a lot this year. I've kept coming back to it. I think because the story of The Hobbit and my time spent with Poppy watching the Hobbit movies is just so precious to me. This deck in turn is a holder of that memory, and in turn has become precious as well, and it's a great reader. I think it's a better reader, of course, if you are well versed with the story, because a lot of the characters in here hold the tarot meaning, but the guidebook's quite nice as well, so it is one for everybody, but definitely one if you are a Hobbit and Lord of the Rings fan like I am. So the Hobbit Tarot, that was another major standout deck for me. Oh, and this pairing was a real standout find. One of the most beautiful pairings I think I've ever found. So the Stolen Child Tarot had sat on my shelf for a while unused. I realised when I did my Anatomy of a Deck collection videos that it was one of those decks that I was saving for best. I am so in love with the deck that I kept putting off using it. I have literally no idea what I've done with these cards. What's going on with these messenger cards? Yeah, it was one of those I was saving for best. But straight away, I mean, look at the backs. Just glorious. When I did start working with this Stolen Child Tarot, I just completely fell in love with it. Decided I wanted to pair an oracle with it. The messenger also often gets overlooked. This is the older version of the messenger, which I love, with the borders. And look at this. Look how special these are together. I have loved this pairing this year. It's real fantasy world, and it's just been fantastic to use. Look at this. It's blown my mind in readings. It's just been so wonderful. Look at this. We are all connected, and the roots of the oak going down to the person buried under the soil. Just lovely messages, and I've loved it. I have loved this pairing. I really have. Just very beautiful, isn't it? Very beautiful. So that is another standout pair for me. I think for me it gives it a whole different vibe having the borders on there, and I do love the borders. I am a real lover of bordered decks. So the Messenger Oracle with the Stolen Child Tarot, standout decks and a standout pairing for sure. Another standout pairing for me, and decks that I've really loved using this year have been the Witch's Wisdom and the Seed and Sickle Oracle. Beautiful to use during summertime, which is when I use them. I love this deck. I love its reversed order. I just love its earthy feel, and the Seed and Sickle as well. When I was out in the garden more, this really did feel like a go-to. Even the backs of these two have a synchronicity. Look, you've got the yellow flowers on the back. The cardstock is very similar as well. It feels the same in your hands. Everything about it has just felt wonderful. Now, I've used really only the Dusk guidebook for the Seed and Sickle. In fact, where is the other guidebook? The other guidebook isn't even in there. Oh, I'll have to go on a hunt for that. But these, oh, I've loved them. Brilliant as well if you feel really connected to earth as an element, or if you feel really connected to using nature and landscape and plants. It's a great little study deck as well, because it does give you information in this one about the plants, so it's useful as well. But I use this for a lot of the summer, this pairing in particular. It feels like home for me, these two decks together. I've also developed a fascination for mushroom hunting in 2022 as well, so it's lovely to see mushrooms in this deck as well. It's just felt just a perfect and beautiful combination to use. It's been gentle, it's been very talkative, it's not left me stumped, it's left me going, oh right, okay. This bluebell card kept stalking me through the year. I've loved that, and you can see it's just so lovely together. So the two of these together, just stunning and wonderful. So that's the Seed and Sickle Oracle with the Witch's Wisdom Tarot. Standout decks again for 2022. There is, I take it all back, I am not missing the other guidebook. It is in the second box. I was wondering why the box seemed so big. Of course it's this Liminal 11 double box thing. So I take it all back. I had not lost the second guidebook. Okay, while we are still talking about plants and flowers and decks used within the summer, the Botanica Tarot is another one for me that's been a real standout deck. Now, this was one of the last decks I bought before my no-buy kicked in. So it was one of the last decks of 2021. It came to me slightly damaged with scratched cards, so it was already heavily reduced in the sale. Look at this gold foil, look at this box, it's just so stunning. So you've got a book like this, and you also have a little white book as well. It's just a stunning deck. But yeah, some of my cards were very scratched actually on the images. So although I got it heavily discounted anyway because it was in the sale, I also got half of that off. So I think I ended up paying about £12 for this deck. So not only was it an absolute bargain, but it's been a real standout deck to use. It's been lovely during the summer months where I've been connecting more with plants and flowers. Again, it's got information about the plants and flowers if that's what you are interested in studying. This again with the Seed and Sickle, the two decks combined, I think if you are on that path and wanting to learn more about plants and flowers and leaves and trees, perfect, absolutely perfect for that. I loved it. It got used more in the summer and the spring, but I kept reaching for it and I loved it. It's definitely going to be kept out again and used in 23, because this is going to be one of my focuses for 23, is continuing to learn more about plants and flowers and then the meanings behind using plants and flowers. Love it. I absolutely love this deck. So that's been another standout deck. I need to also share the one that's right in front of me, the Barbara G. Walker I Ching of the Goddess Divination Kit. So this is an Oracle deck. Is it I Ching or I Ching? You can tell I'm right at the start of my studies. I don't even know how to say it. I think it might be I Ching. So forgive me if I've said that wrong. I am just beginning to study it. I have to include this because I was on a no buy year, and this is the deck that I bought on my no buy year. This was the unicorn deck that I managed to find. I've been working with it in November, in December as well, and I am loving it. It is everything that I hoped it would be. It really is. And if you've seen my recent video, you will know that there's another Standout deck that has finally made it out onto my work table and now is reluctant to be put away. The Deviant Moon, the two of them together, I've shared it before, but the two of them together are really fantastic. Normally if I work with a deck for a month, they then get put away, but these two are not being put away. These two have managed to stay out for another month, and I am not even close to being fed up with working with them both yet. This is a brilliant holiday season deck. I think it's definitely a winter, Christmas, Yule feeling deck for me, but the two of these working together, oh, loving it. There's such a lot that it can unpack when you put them together. I could be journaling forever with them. I'm loving it. So the I Ching of the Goddess and the Deviant Moon, who would have thought that the Deviant Moon that I had such a massive aversion to would ever make it into my Standout decks? There you go. Never say never is the lesson of the Deviant Moon for me. And I could not talk about Standout decks without bringing my little travel altar case into the mix to share the deck that I keep in here. So Adventure Tarot was born in 2022. That feeling of needing to take my decks out, to get away from my desk, to have tarot actually become part of my active life rather than something I just do sitting at a desk and then struggle to put into action. Adventure Tarot was born because of that feeling, and the Dark Goddess Tarot came into play with me. Some of these cards, like this one, oh my gosh, pulling them on location, and I pulled these on location on the hunt for Sheila gigs. We haven't done much, I know, but the times that we have been out and done tarot readings near the Sheila gigs, these cards have blown our minds, and I think it just again transformed tarot for me in 2022. That idea of using landscape within a tarot reading, letting landscape speak, going to sacred sites, using a deck as a prompting for a quest. It's been fantastic fun. And this deck, although I'm still learning it, it's not that simple to learn, and I am still really needing to use the guidebook. Things like this Crone Mother, the message in the guidebook with this have blown my mind in the situation that I've been in when I've pulled it. It just has taken tarot to a whole nother dimension of magic for me, and it's been amazing fun. It has been an adventure. It's been like wonderful to be on a quest, and I've loved it. There's so much more study and time within this deck, and of course there's the card that started it all, the full card, the Sheila gig. Oh, it's been fantastic. It's been wonderful this year spending time with this deck. I think there are memories now absolutely hooked onto this deck and embedded within the cards that the landscape has offered up, and I just think that makes a deck even more powerful, really, once you start hooking memories into it with adventure or quests. It's been incredible. Oh my gosh, can you hear how noisy the road is outside? Oh, it's been terrible. It's terribly noisy. And I can't talk about Adventure Tarot without talking about the Gill Tarot. because this found its place as well into Adventure Tarot. It was because it was one of the few decks I had up at my caravan. So it was a deck that, just because it was there, got thrown into my bag just in case I needed a tarot. It's got these Tree of Life backs on it, and I am so glad that it found its way into my bag, because it has proven to be quite something. It is definitely another Adventure Tarot deck. It's been fantastic. It's been wonderful, and I've loved every second of using it. I just feel very bonded to this deck straight away the minute I started using it. I can't wait to see what 2023 will bring for me in this deck. I know we're going to have some adventures together, which is wonderful. So that's the Guild Tarot, another standout deck. And I think the last deck, which I might pair actually, I might share another Oracle and another Tarot, which probably is my biggest standout Tarot deck of 2022, is the Stretch Tarot. Of course, this is the deck that came to Margaret's house with me. It's got these backs, and honestly, I think if I could only grab one deck and could only have one deck forever, it would probably be the Stretch Tarot. I love it. I love it so much. And having done the reading that I did at Margaret's house with it, which was the most phenomenal tarot reading I've ever done, it will forever be like such a massive memory for me. That the Literary Witches Oracle as well, which was a really early oracle in my tarot practice. I'm a reader, so of course the Literary Witches Oracle just appealed, and it's a little oddball, but it never gets put away. It never. I always love it, and it goes with so many decks, I find, and adds so much to readings. So it is, along with the Stretch Tarot, which I think is a particularly lovely pairing, it is one of my real favourites. And I mean, the witchy vibes here, you couldn't get any more full on, could you? I love it. I love the fact that this deck is a mixture of spell objects, but also these famous female writers. And I think it's a combination of what the book says about the writers and the keywords in the little book as well. I do have the big book for this, which I think you need as well, really. I would say if you're going to get this book, if you're going to get this deck rather, you need to get the big book with it, and also to read around the author's work as well. And it adds such a deep well of meanings that you can pull on them when you use this deck. And I think these two are just fantastic. I think probably these two would be my biggest standout decks of 2022 if I had to give a final prize. Definitely the Stretch Tarot with this card. Oh my gosh, this card is just, like I say, memory lace now, which is incredible. And this one, these are all cards that came out during the tarot reading within Margaret's house. So guys, that's it. Those are my standout decks for 2022. Thank you, Julie, for this tag. I just wanted something simple this year to share the decks of 2022, and when I saw this tag by Juli, I thought that's it. That's just nice and simple to sit and have a morning playing with some of the decks I've loved this year, just to simply share them. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I will link Juli's video down below for you to go and check out the rest of the tag and the rest of the videos in the tag. But thanks guys for watching. I've had so much fun sharing these decks that have been so important to me. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.